Hello everyone and welcome to my class. Now in this video I'll be continuing with the second theme of class 12th history, that is kings, farmers and towns, and we are covering an important time period, that is circa 600 BC to circa 600 CE. Now in this video I'll be talking about the early empire in India. Right, in my previous videos I have already explained that this period was an emergence of when the emergence of many kingdoms took place. We have discussed about the Janpads and Mahajanpads and how Magad emerged as the strongest among the 16 Janpadas, right, Mahajanpads. Right, now talking about the early empire in India is found in the form of Mauryan Empire, which was founded by Chandragupta Maurya, and the extension of this empire was huge as compared to other kingdoms that were contemporary to Mauryan Empire. It was extended from Afghanistan, Balochistan, in the northwestern region, from the northwestern region, and it expanded further during the time of his grandson, that is Ashok, till Kalinga. So the entire northwestern region, northern region, central region of India was in their control. So the vastness of this empire shows that first time such a huge empire was built in India, right? Now talking about from where we get the information about the Mauryan Empire, what are the sources for this period, right? So no doubt archaeological finds are important sources, then account of Megasthenes. Now account of Megasthenes is a contemporary account. Megasthenes was an ambassador who was sent to Chandragupta's court by a Greek ruler, Seleucus, right? And he spent many years here in the royal court of Chandragupta, and he whatever he observed there, he wrote that in a form of a book called Indica. Maybe the name is not given in the book, but Indica was the book written by Megasthenes, right? So a detailed account of his administration, of Mauryan army, all these things were given by Megasthenes. Then a contemporary source was of Kautilya's Arthashastra. Though the Arthashastra is considered as a political thesis, but still it talks, or it gives information, a lot of information about the Mauryan administrative setup, right? Then very important sources, Ashokan rock and pillar edicts or inscriptions, right? Now rock and pillar edicts, first time an initiative taken by a ruler to have a direct communication with the common people, with his people, in the form of, he used to whatever the idea he wanted to give to his people, he used to make them inscribed on pillars and rocks, and these pillars and rocks were installed in different regions of his empire so that the common people can read. Common language was used. He used most of his pillar and rock inscriptions are written in Prakrit language, which was a common language of people. They can read those inscriptions and they can follow these ideas, right? This he had done after becoming when he converted to Buddhism, and he wanted to circulate his ideas of Dhamma, right? We'll talk about Dhamma later in detail, but whatever he wanted to communicate with his people were inscribed in such a way. Mostly Prakrit language was used for inscribing inscriptions. Brahmis in Prakrit and Brahmi script was used, and in the northwestern region of Afghanistan, Balochistan, use of Aramaic and Greek language is there in the inscription, right? So because maybe for the northwestern region people might use these languages at that time. So this is a important source of information. And then Buddhist, contemporary Buddhist, Jainist and Puranic literature that we found belonging to the same time period. All these literature also gives information about Mauryans, right? Mauryan Empire. So this again proves one fact that yes, this empire do exist at that time, right? So this is all about the sources of the Mauryan Empire. Now talking about administering the empire. as I told you, the extension of this empire was huge. So to maintain to have a hold over such a vast empire was a very challenging task, right? And there were around five important centers of the empire. Patliputra, modern day Patna, was the capital of the empire. And besides Patliputra, there were four important centers, trading center, or you can say the important centers from administrative point of view. It was These were Tosali, Ujjaini, Takshila, and Swarnanagari. There is a map given on page number 33. You can find the exact location of these places, right? And you'll find that Takshila and Ujjaini, these two centers were located on the long distance trade route. Maybe these they emerged as an important center from trading point of view, right? So such centers were located on strategic location, right? Now suppose if any region of the empire is facing a problem, then king used to send his army. The army played a very important role for maintaining such a huge empire. It is very important for a ruler to have a strong army, and for maintaining strong army which anytime requires to move at any region, uh, various things needs to be considered, right? Various things need to be carefully managed. Now, Megasthenes' account of Indica gives this information that there is a specialized committee made specially to look after the working of the army, right? The well-being of the army. And under this committee, six subcommittees were made. Different responsibilities, different duties were allotted to these six committees. Like all these committees were made for coordinating the military activity. First committee requires to look after navy, right? Second committee managed transport and provisions. Third committee was responsible for foot soldiers. Fourth committee was responsible for horses in the army. And fifth committee was responsible for chariots. And the last committee, the sixth committee, looked after the elephants, right? So this is how they have done the division, and these committees were responsible for the well-being of the soldiers, their equipments, their maintenance, their animals used in army, right? All these things, especially the second committee, the transport and provision. This committee was having more duties, like they need to look after the equipments, they need to look after the animals, they need to look after their fodder, food for the soldiers, their basic requirements, everything. So this is how by doing work division, these committees used to work for the well-being of the soldiers, for coordinating the military activity, right? Now Ashoka propagated Dhamma. Now Dhamma, to ensure the well-being of his people. Now what is Dhamma? Though I'll be discussing it in detail, but I'll give you a brief idea of Dhamma. Dhamma is not dharma, maybe a Prakrit version of dharma, but here it is not particularly one religion. Basically Dhamma was his ideas, idle ideas about how to live an ideal life, which he wanted his people to follow, like giving respect to elders, treating the younger ones with love and affection, right? Not to steal, not to, means all these good ideas were, which the Ashoka wanted his people to follow, is Dhamma, right? And in his later years, when he converted to Buddhism, he took many measures to propagate his ideas among his people. And especially there is a mention of Dhamma Mahamata. These were special officers who were appointed for the purpose of propagating his ideas, his dhamma to his people, not only within his empire, but he used to send his ambassador, he used to send his people to different countries of South Asia where his ideas can be propagated. We'll be discussing this in detail in upcoming videos, right? So this is all about introduction about the Mauryan Empire, their administration. We'll be discussing other features of Mauryan Empire in the upcoming videos. So please watch those videos, please make your notes, please like, share and review, and subscribe my channel. Thank you.